We're filming. This week on LitePsych, we're going to talk about procrastination and social media. Today, we're going to talk about an overview of these two elements, and on the other episode, we're going to talk about a step-by-step plan to help you be aware and manage your social media procrastination habits. We are all guilty of wasting hours browsing through social media instead of doing what we're supposed to do, whether it be homework or household chores or responsibilities at work. We go through reels, post stories, say we'll just watch one more video on YouTube, and end up not doing any of our responsibilities. This is what we call procrastination. It's when you voluntarily choose to delay an activity that prevents you from performing a specific task. Often, these tasks are something that is relevant to you, important, or has a deadline. Most of the time, procrastination results in the following things: poor academic performance, increased stress and anxiety, and is one of the main sources of work-related stress as well. The recent advancement in technology where everything is done to our computer and where everything is integrated into applications and in our different devices has made tasks even that much harder for us to accomplish. Especially for those with very low self-control, the dings and the buzzes that we get from our notifications are just too enticing for us to ignore. When we see a message on our phone, we get a sudden urge to reply to build a positive self-image or just for basic fear of missing out on updates and events. Although social media has become useful in that it allows us to communicate with everyone at any point in the day, excessively staying online has also transformed us to be digitally addicted and professional procrastinators. But why do we do this? We know what we're supposed to do, and yet we still get enchanted by the calls of our different applications. For starters, staying on our social media platforms allows us to relieve stress. Instead of dealing with tasks and activities that will make us feel pressured and tense, we'd rather stick to scrolling through reels in our news feeds. Another possible reason is the motivational rewards that we get from social media. It just feels nice getting likes and comments and shares and hearts on the different things that we do on our social media platforms. We like the level of enjoyment that we experience in social media, and it's also possible that to an extent we feel pressured to be always available and to be always responsive to the different notifications that we get. Very recently, a study was published and they proposed something called a D-Crastinate Method, which is a specific method to deal with procrastination because of social media. The D-Crastinate Method aims to raise its users' awareness of their procrastination habits by guiding them by identifying the features in social media that facilitate procrastination as well as the different procrastination types. It also suggests to seek individualized countermeasures so that you can effectively fight against procrastination. The method happens across 6 stages, the very first of which is education, and it has the following objectives. The following stages are self-diagnosis, planning and preparation, action, self-assessment, and finally, error identification. For today's video, we're going to start with education, and we're going to bring you up to speed on the overview of social media procrastination and how the D-Crastinate method might help you out. Let's start off our educational journey on procrastination through discussing social norms. Social norms are behaviors and attitudes that we expect our peers and people around us to follow. There are 2 kinds of social norms. The first are descriptive norms, which are behaviors that can be easily observed, and the second are injunctive norms, which are attitudes that surround a certain kind of behavior. Research on social norms has found that we tend to assume that others behave more negatively, and have more negative attitudes than ourselves. Because of this, procrastination seems very common and overestimated, and it may stop you from seeking solutions to prevent it in the first place. In other words, when it comes to procrastination, we may think that it happens a lot, and we may think that people are okay with it. Therefore, we don't really see it as a problem and seek solutions for it to begin with. Procrastination on social media can also be explained by poor expectation management. We tend to procrastinate because of the peer pressure we think we have when we feel that we have to meet certain criteria in order to fulfill the expectations of others, such as maintaining your popularity, responding to your comments, and just having a positive image online. So how does managing your expectations look like? It helps, for example, to declare your availability online to your family and friends, saying that, hey, from this time to this time, I'm working on a report and will be unable to respond to any messages. This helps with you focusing on the tasks because you don't receive notifications, but also because everyone knows that you're doing something at that time. You yourself won't feel excluded if you don't receive any messages or notifications at that certain period. Similarly, it's important to be transparent to your friends and family when you have something going on that is urgent in your life. This helps in creating a sense of trust between you and your social media following and provides you more time to focus on the work at hand. And instead of people thinking, hey, maybe Jim's ignoring me, because of the transparency, they're able to understand your situation better. Procrastination has also been linked to impulsivity. Many of us know that being impulsive means doing something that was not planned without properly thinking of often the negative consequences it might have. Procrastination on social media can be seen as a form of impulsivity because social media platforms are personalized and they're your echo chambers. They're basically a sum of all the things you find enjoyable and interesting. It makes it harder for you to concentrate on the tasks that you're supposed to do as you're easily entertained and engaged by the things you see online. In a sense, it's a very now-oriented, present-oriented engagement that plays into the lack of consideration for long-term consequences found in impulsivity. Mindfulness is a useful tool to deal with the impulsivity aspect when it comes to social media, as it makes you aware of your impulse controls and tendencies. Another way to help you manage your impulsivity is through the use of blocking apps. There are a lot of apps online which prohibit you from using certain apps at certain times. And there are also those that limit the amount of time that you get to spend in certain apps within a day. Poor time management is also linked to procrastination, as time management by definition is when you take a moment to identify what your needs are, how you're going to achieve them, and how you're going to prioritize your tasks. Research has shown that when you're able to manage your time well, you feel less stress and procrastinate less as well. However, some social media features directly combat against time management and to some extent impulsivity, and that is the temporary nature of some elements such as stories, where they're only available for 24 hours. So if you don't see them in that period, then you've just missed out. So often what happens is we go through our stories and go through all of them to stay updated with everything happening in our loved ones' lives, therefore taking us away from what we were supposed to be doing to begin with. Very similarly to impulsivity, being aware of how much time we're spending on our phones and our social media apps acts as a reminder for us to stay focused. Although I did mention this briefly earlier, habitually checking our social media apps is a huge factor that causes procrastination. Because social media is so accessible through us to our different devices, we can get instant gratification and feel good and get entertainment just by going online at any time of the day. And because of this, a lot of the gratification that we get slowly builds up over time and has a high chance of turning into compulsive behavior or excessive usage, which then turns into a habit that it's just hard to get out of. So how does the D-Crastinate method play into all of this? The D-Crastinate method takes a look at procrastination as a sickness. And because of this, it employs a few models to help better tackle it. The first is called the health belief model, which suggests that preventive health behaviors are founded on our beliefs. The model consists of 6 components. The first is perceived severity on whether or not the consequences we have on social media are very bad. The second are perceived barriers, if we think that us getting off social media will be difficult. Third is perceived susceptibility. Do we even think that we have a social media problem? The next is self-efficacy, whether or not we evaluate ourselves as capable of making a change. The next are perceived benefits. And the last are cues of action, where external events prompt us or create a desire in us to make a change. The way that we relate to these 6 dimensions will predict whether or not we will make changes in our behaviors when it comes to social media and procrastination. The model makes you aware of where you stand in these 6 dimensions, which can then facilitate your eventual change. The D-Crastinate method also takes into account that relapses can happen. Relapse prevention is about keeping the control that you've built over time as opposed to going back to the behavior that you've been wanting to change in the first place, which in this case is procrastinating on social media. Relapses generally happen in 3 stages. The first stage is an emotional relapse where you start thinking of the behavior and how it has felt good and it has helped you before. This is where most smokers struggle initially. The second stage is the mental stage, where you internally recognize the conflicts that make you engage in these addicting activities, whether it be to relieve stress or to escape from the world, etc. And lastly, the physical stage is when you go back to the behavior. Congratulations, you have relapsed. The model, through its method, takes this into account, and next episode, we're going to learn just how to do that. Digital resilience also can help fight in procrastination. Resilience is the ability to effectively deal, manage, or recover from setbacks. So building digital resilience with the proper resources can help you fight procrastination. And this starts with you being aware of your current procrastination habits or patterns. Stage 1. Having a positive mindset or exercising positive thinking is also very important. Remember that self-efficacy in the health belief model is an important dimension. So having high self-efficacy boosts your confidence in fighting your social media procrastination. Be motivated by telling yourself that this change is possible and that you can do it. Before we end this video, I'm going to leave you with the last concept called the trans-theoretical model, also known as the stages of change. This model suggests that our changes in behavior occurs in stages. First is pre-contemplation, where we recognize the problem. Then it's followed by contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance to keep the new behavior. And we've just achieved first step of the D-Crastinate model, which is education. On the next episode, we're going through steps 2 to 6 of the model to walk you through on the specific steps on how to manage and create new behaviors when it comes to procrastination. Overall, what you need to take away from this video is that the first step to creating new change is realizing and admitting that you may have a social media or a procrastination problem. It is only when we acknowledge the reality of our problems and issues that we can start to take measures to change them. The step-by-step video will be up in a few days, but until then, remember that procrastinating means it's another day spent worrying about something we could have wrapped up already. And we hope that there are some suggestions or some thoughts in this video that may already help you manage your existing habits. Follow us at LitePsych on Instagram, like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you never miss out on the latest psychology and simple terminology. This is Jim. Do what you're supposed to do. Thanks for watching.